Alright. Welcome back to the Morning Drift. My name
is Simba Elijah Charles Kiaga. Thank you very much for being a part and parcel of our broadcast this morning. And our big conversation then officially begins now. And this is how we're going to start it. Finally, the president has spoken or has essentially given his sentiments on the ongoing doctor strike in the country. By the end of this week, it's going to be a month after the doctors hit the streets in negotiations that date all the way back to 2017. The doctors have refused to get back to the negotiating table after proposals from the government didn't seem to settle well with them. This morning, we talk about that, but let's listen in to this story that we ran for you this morning that's going to give you an idea of what the president spoke about the ongoing doctor strike. While attending Sunday service at Eldoret AIC Fellowship Church, the head of state stated that the country is annually spending 1.1 trillion Kenyan shillings out of the 2.2 trillion collected for the payment of salaries and wages, promising to hold talks with the cabinet to reduce the budget from 4.2 trillion Kenyan shillings to 3.7 trillion so that the country lives within its means.
About 10 days ago, I called the whole of government and we agreed that we must live within our means. We're going to reduce our budget from 4.2 trillion down to 3.7 trillion so that we can live within our means.
At the same time, President Ruto unveiled a significant government initiative revealing plans to provide a stipend of 70,000 Kenyan shillings for 1,500 interns annually, adding that all intern doctors will be absorbed in terms that the government has offered. This stipend will be extended for a year with the promise of subsequent employment.
We mind about them. We value the service they give to our nation. But we must live within our means. The resources we have are only sufficient to pay 70,000 shillings for intern doctors. It is not a salary, it is a stipend for only 1 year, and then they will be employed. And we want all our doctors, all our doctor interns to be taken in, and that is why we are going to spend the resources that we have to make sure all the 1,500 plus or minus doctors, all of them are absorbed at once.
Furthermore, the head of state affirmed that under his leadership, the country was heading in the right direction towards economic recovery and would continue making decisions that benefit all Kenyans.
Prices of food items have come down. Our dollar situation has improved. Even fuel situation has improved because we have made the right decisions. I will continue the path of making the right decisions for our country because you can never be wrong if you make the right decisions.
A few minutes after President William Ruto's announcement, the KMPDU Secretary General Davji Atela via social media stated that they will not accept to be used as scapegoats for reducing the wage bill, and their demands are still on the table. Solidarity forever. John Matava, Lookuptv. That's it then, that we have to live within our means. There is no money. And it's clear now. And the doctors are saying, no, we will continue. Well, this morning then, let me introduce the gentlemen. Mr. Mungai and Mr. Regalo. How are you doing, gentlemen?
Very well. How are you?
Fantastic. Mr. Mungai, how are you doing?
Good morning.
Yes?
We are well. We've been blessed with lots of rain.
That's it. Let's begin like that. And I will start from... For the sake of this conversation, let's go back to Regalo so that he can set the pace for you this morning. Regalo, I mean, we asked the question why the president was silent. What was happening in between is Nakumincha tried to negotiate with the doctors, hit a wall. Kenya was sent in tried to negotiate with the doctors, hit a wall. Now the president finally has spoken on it, and what he's saying is what the rest of them have been saying. There is no money. You have to lessen your stance and go back to work. Let me start from this. Is it a little bit too late for the president?
When the strike started, first of all, I'm sorry, let me greet the viewers. It's very bad to just start without saying hi to the viewers, and these are the viewers who watch us, and our opinion really matters to the nation. So you really have to give them respect. And we are blessed with the rain the whole country, and God loves Kenya. We may not have the money, but God has given us the rain. Now we can have food. I remember Moi's time, because we are in Moi's time. We didn't have the money as much. The dollar was actually 20, pound was 20, ilikuwa inaitwa kefao. And we didn't have money. Some of us would walk without shoes, and covering our butts was a miracle, because many of us didn't even have shorts. But there was food, because there was enough rain and the rivers were always swollen. So we are back to the Moist time where you will not have money, but God will give us food. So people would say, hey, this guy is doing very well, kuna chakula, hajakuwa Mungu. So God is giving us our daily bread, as it is said in our Father. Coming back to what you're talking about, apparently it's amazing how the president is now talking what he has been telling his people to go and negotiate. And that brings me to a question. Our wage bill is high, yeah, but there is money to give the deputy president's wife office and first lady's office. There is enough money, because if you check, initially it was 4.99 million to the first lady. So supplementary is giving first lady 593.91, over 100 million on top. There is money for deputy lady. Initially she was getting 292.86. Apparently she's going to even jump higher than the first lady by getting 717.66. So there is money for that. There is also money, our deputy first lady yesterday in church, and may God give her the glory, Pastor Dorcas leads clergy in praying for an end of doctor strike. Does that need prayers? Does that need prayers? God has given us the free will to sit and negotiate. Yes. Does it need prayers? For what? For the negotiations. For negotiation to be fruitful. To fruitful. Do you need prayers for that?
The grace of God to make them.
You and your wife mkigombana, do you need prayers? You need just to sit down and talk and make things. You know, sometimes we misuse the word prayers a lot. Yes. You intercede things that don't even need intercession. Sometimes God gets angry for some of these things we bring to him. He's like, what's this now? So now, there is also upgrading of state houses. I can see even a garage, a mechanical garage that is going to be upgraded. There is money for that. There is money to remove a lami in State House and put cabro, which stays longer, lami ama cabro. Because when you use a cabro, you turn a trailer 2 times, 3 times, that cabro will start wedging out. So you put lami. You remove lami that Uhuru left, you put cabro. There is money for all that. There is money to get new vehicles for everybody, because we saw vehicles that have been changed. There is money to buy umbrellas. I think these umbrellas are going to massage rain. I don't know. There is money to buy a watch. A watch that when you look at it will even tell you what you're thinking, maybe. Because that watch is too expensive that I've never seen a watch, a wall clock watch, costing 750,000. So there's money for pilferages, that's what I mean. But what is healthcare? People don't understand. Healthcare basically starts from the day we say conception. When your mother and your father meet, healthcare starts. The day you go to a clinic, you start healthcare. You're given folic acid and ferrous to make sure you're not born with with conditions that are born with people who don't go to clinic. Neurotubal, that's spinal bifida, microcephalus, hydrocephalus, microcephalus, you know those things. You are born healthy because you went to a clinic. Then delivery is healthcare. Even to death is healthcare. The day you die, you need a post-mortem done. Still, when you're dead, is healthcare, because people are left need closure that our person died through normal circumstances of death, natural circumstances of death, and we close. If it is unnatural, then another story starts. So healthcare is a long process. And if that is a long process, what should happen in this country? Really, this country needs people to be beaten. Thoroughly, chapa kiboko. There are two things that I ask myself that should be free, we like it or not. Education and healthcare. I'm saying in the paper today, education has fallen so loudly, I would use the word loudly, to an extent it has been left now in the hands, you'll get it, in the hands of the private business people.
Yes.
Education should be free so that everybody in the country is educated. We reach where Mauritius is, Seychelles is, most educated African countries. South Africa, they're educated than us. We may think we are more educated. We are not even in top 10 of the most educated countries in Africa. You get it? So where are we? So if we can give full education to our people, then we give them good health care. I mean, this is not something that we should be negotiating or talking about. Are you talking about on how to pay to redeploy or give jobs to interns? It is automatic. When you finish school, you get internship for 1 year, and in this internship, you automatically, when you finish, you should be employed by the government. Because we keep saying doctors are few. Doctors are few in the healthcare, but the ones that are there, you're not employing them. What are you trying to tell me? So you negotiate about that one. That one also needs negotiation on the table. The government should negotiate with the people, tell them, hey Kenyans, this is what is happening and this is why we've not done this. It's not negotiating with doctors. Doctors are telling you, employ us, we treat your people. Doctors telling you, 70,000 in little, according to CBA. Give us what we negotiated on CBA. They're not telling you what you don't know. Doctors are telling you, since I was employed 5 years down the line, I've not gotten my cadre, what do you call this, going up.
Yes.
So kindly uplift my cadre so that I may go my level. There are people who have been working for 10 years now. They are masters doctors. They are surgeons. They are physicians. They are still in the job group of the first employment.
Yes.
They are telling you, my friend, I need to go up on my job group. Are they telling you, or they should be automatic? I mean, some of these things we are hearing here are not some things we should be talking about.
Yes.
There are things that the government should be doing. But it is very painful, our government telling Kenyans that we live within our means. Live within which means? If the government itself cannot live within their means, the only means they can do is give fake fertilizer to farmers. I mean, is that how now means is? So don't give us stories. Strike will go on. And let me tell you, doctors can sustain a strike for 1 year and they will not go hungry. Do you think right now people are not treated? People are getting treated, but where?
Yes.
In the private sectors.
Yes,
what is happening to them? They are now selling their everything plus their shoes. People are now auctioning and selling their land, their cars, their property to sustain them in a private treatment. That is the government they chose. So do you want to tell me doctors are not working? They are working. The private hospitals will ask them, hey, come do this for us here. He'll come and get something. So these guys will sustain a strike. So who are the ones hurting? The hustlers that these people are coming to save. People who can't afford even 1 meal. They're the ones suffering. I'll give you an example. And I'll use maternity still, because maternity should be free. I wonder what people pay.
Yes.
Because they removed Linda Mama. So let the hustlers pay. But I'll give you example of maternity. Do you know when you get a tubal pregnancy, it can't wait? There is a normal pregnancy. Then the fallopian tube, you can get a pregnancy on the fallopian tube. What you call tubal pregnancy.
It's the same as ectopic.
It is the ectopic.
Yes.
It's either tubal or ectopic. When you get ectopic pregnancy, what happens? It is an emergency. And it is a theater direct. Actually, later in a story, casualty theater direct. So what is happening in the whole country? Do you want to tell me tubal pregnancies have stopped? In a group of 55 million Kenyans, we don't have tubal pregnancies. Where are they going? Are those mothers not dying? It is a simple question of what the government in 3 weeks are doing to Kenya. There are kids in that room called, I'll still use maternity. It's easier to use maternity than these complex things. There are kids in incubators who are supposed to be visiting them every day in the incubator. Pediatrician, okay? And a neonatologist. And any other speciality in pediatrician, in that car, small thing that has a lot of humidity and what have you. What is happening to those kids? It's simple. You see, when teachers strike, nobody dies. Students just go home, watu wanakaa nyumbani. But when medics strike, do you know what you're doing? I'll give you a simple example. Those people on kidney management, liver, heart, kidney management, they were supposed to continue dialysis, follow urologists and what have you. What has happened to them today? Their uric acid is imepanda zinachapa. What is going to happen to their vessels and any part of the body? These people are going to die. That is what is happening right now. And still we are telling Kenyans, we don't have money to pay you, just take 70,000, we are going to employ you. Are you supposed to tell them you are going to employ you, or you should be employing by the way? What are you telling them? And that's why doctors are saying, hey, what a story, bana. Wewe lipa kama tenda, because we can see what is happening to Akina Murkomen. The guys are getting money, they are buying watches that cannot be afforded by a normal human being. Miwani natoka 80k, viatu 300k, watch ya 3.5 million. Ni bangi gani hii? You want to tell me, nikiona ndugu yangu akivaa watch ya 3.5 million, na aniambie mimi sina school fee ya kukupeleka shule na amevaa watch? That's why people came on Murkomen. How do you tell that man you don't have job? Na wewe ni minister. You're supposed to be telling a Kenyan, normal Kenyans, hapa hatuna kazi. Are you supposed to tell a normal Kenyans hapa tunanga kazi? And a normal Kenyan is asking me, shida yangu tu ni job, ni save na job. Seriously, mtu haja kuomba mbao, because wanajuanga watu uomba, nipaje na chwani mbao, nipe wabe punch. Amekwambia mimi shida yangu tu ni job, nipe wera, hapa tunanga kazi. Are you supposed to tell a normal Kenyans hatunanga kazi? So, and that guy telling you like that is living a suave life. Doctors will be on strike for 1 year. Life in Kenya will continue. Whoever will remain, it is a principle of natural selection in biology. The weak will die, the strong will survive. The people who will survive, Kenya will continue. But we are not going to have a story. I'm even wondering where the nurses. Panyako, you are failing nurses. They were in the CBA. Bring nurses here, we go together.
But Panyako is an official of UDA.
Yes, that's why Panyako is doing that. Panyako is an official of UDA. So right now, the clinical officers are on strike. The laboratory technologists and technicians are on strike as well. The doctors are on strike. What are the nurses doing? The nurses should join this thing so that this CBA is negotiated as one. But Panyako will not bring them because Panyako is having a seat in UDA. Panyako, you are going to suffer the wrath of other Kenyans because you're not helping them. So now, Panyako is happy. He is not negotiating anything for anyone because his stomach is full. But we have a Kenya, and nurses will also have their right. But ile mambo tunaenda nayo, mi naomba strike iende hata mwaka mzima. Na nimekuambia, whoever will hurt, ni sawa tu.
Here's the thing, Mungai. I mean, we asked that question.
Sorry,
yes.
Before Mungai comes in, we had a Ken Silva that had an accident. You remember Ken Silva bus?
That's it.
There was a person who was there was a person who was taken to hospital for treatment. Did they get doctors?
Of course they cannot get doctors.
That is what Kenyans should be asking the government. Now Kenyans are also quiet. Squeezy Kenyans are laid back. Wamenyamaza tu. Wanangojea Raila aongee. Let them also talk. Si Raila aliomba kura wakamnyima. Hii Kenya waongee. Raila siye mwenye anaongeaga kila wakati. Au mwenye relative mtu wao alikufa wa Ken Silva, aite NTV, aite Lookuptv, aite KBC, aite hizo zote. Awaeke aanze kuongea. Aseme mimi relative wa nani mtu wetu alikufa sababu tu yes. Why did that person die? Because our government refused doctors to go back to work.
Here's the thing, Mungai. Is that in the first 2 weeks, we said, well, the president has been late to speak on this particular issue. Because when we did a comparison on how quick the president has been able to speak on issues in his government that have hit a glitch. He's been quite steadfast on it. I mean, you could start from the housing levy, come and talk to the chief, come and talk about the fertilizers in the country, come and talk about issues to do with a court judgment. He would speak on it quickly. Mungai, it's been, but by the end of this week, it shall be officially a month since the doctors started going to the streets. Now the president comes in to speak on it. Is it, somebody said, why hasn't this been declared a national disaster, one? And number two, do you think the president is a bit too late to speak on this now?
Thank you, Simba. You know, Ragalo has spoken quite a lot. If I start greeting the viewers, they might imagine that I'm too late to the party. But allow me to take this opportunity to say hi to the viewers. And since we are speaking about the doctors' strike, you know, in light of the same, our colleague Joyce, who will always joins us on Monday, is unable to be with us because one of their relatives was hit by a truck on a hit and run in Daragwa. And unfortunately, owing to the doctor's strike, they could not get to save the relative in good time. And so she sends her apology. And Ragalo has put it correctly, and what do they call it? Succinctly.
Yes, that's the word. Succinctly.
That's the word, yes.
Yes.
I mean, a doctor's strike is akin to a death sentence.
Yes.
Because doctors play a pivotal role in our ecosystem. But I always feel that we live in a country of contrasts. Why? Because on one end, we have a lot of wastages in government. On the other hand, where what we deem to be essential services, by and large, usually go unnoticed. And it is not to say that people in the medical profession have, even when they are correctly remunerated, treated Kenyan patients as Kenyan patients would want to be treated. And therefore, I believe this is a good opportunity to have a conversation on the direction that our country needs to take in terms of healthcare.
Yes.
Now, since I became of age, I have never seen an year or 2 years go by without either a doctor's strike or nurses strike or clinician strike. I have never gone a year or two without finding teachers going on strike. Same as, you know, it's always doctors, teachers, what's the third cohort?
Nurses.
Nurses. And also teachers are in two categories. There is NAT teachers, and you know NAT now is almost moribund. Masharia of TSC has, you know, she knelt them a death blow when she refused to remit funds to them. We have this other one of secondary teachers, KUPET, and then now we have UASU and other stuff. And it leads me to the question, you know, when we were, and I'm laying this as a background to come to the question that you have asked. When you look at where we are as a country, you ask yourself several questions. One, we devolved in the fourth schedule of the 2010 Constitution, we devolved health and its functions. But even so, even while health was with the national government, because there are people that are saying, return health to the national government, let it not stay with the county governments.
Yes.
But what is the reality? The reality is that even while health was a preserve of the national government, people in the medical profession still went on strike. Okay? We had during the Moise era, strikes were prevalent. Same to Kibaki, yes. Same to Uhuru, and now same with William Ruto. And it would appear to me that we devolved health while it was in ICU, and we thought by taking it to the county governments, we were devolving it to sort of HDU, so that then we could manage the crisis, and then the patient would go to the general ward, and then they would be discharged.
Yes, sir.
But it would appear when we took them to HDU, that HDU did not have the necessary equipments to handle the patients. So it were better off with the patient in ICU, where presumably we had better equipments to handle the patient, even though sometimes we lost some, than devolving them to a HDU that had no equipment at all.
Yeah.
It was just a HDU in name, and that is in terms of the county governments. And therefore, what we find is that a majority of the patients that we took to HDU are now losing their lives. Now there is a blame between the county governments who are saying, look, you devolved function without money, and the national government that is saying, look, this thing we are only coming to help you. You know, as doctors, they would know sometimes you have a visiting clinician to come and observe what the local ones are doing.
Yes.
So it seems like there is a tug of war between the national government and the county government on exactly who is responsible for this strike. Now, the CBA that has led them to go and strike is a 2017 CBA, which they signed. And sometimes when you look at what the doctors are asking, to be honest, sometimes it's a fair ask. You know, when a doctor asks for insurance for them and their family,
yes,
to me it's a fair ask. It's a no-brainer. They should be given, because it doesn't make sense for you to treat patients yet who have insurance, yet if you are put in a similar condition, you yourself are not able to cater for the hospital bills that you would incur.
yes.
And I would also want to urge government to look at this keenly and have an opportunity to do an analysis,
Yes.
so that we see how we can cure this thing once and for all. Because this is always my view. You ignore the doctors' strike today as a government official when you are in power, but do a simple recall during Uhuru's tenure. One of his CSs, the CS without portfolio, what was his name?
It was a
Tuju.
Yes.
Was involved in an accident. His first point of call was AIC Kijabe Hospital. That was his first point of call. If he had gotten an accident next to a government hospital, he would have been taken to a government hospital.
The better example will be in 2002.
Yes.
Just when Kibaki took power, there was an aeroplane mishap in Busia. And you remember the first place Akina Wanyiri Kihoro, the wife, were taken, and the former MP of Northeastern who died,
Wajir, I think.
Wajir, who died, they were taken to a dispensary.
Correct.
They were treated by a nurse, not a doctor, in the dispensary for emergency management in a dispensary, before some of them being airlifted to Nairobi Hospital. Wanyiri Kihoro's wife, former Nani, passed on after 3 years in ICU after cruel management and what have you. But the fact is, the first person who handled them was a dingy dispensary. So usidharau mtu,
and that was my point, that you know, sometimes when you're in power and you're able to afford a 1 million Kenya shillings watch, you imagine that when you get sick,
the watch will massage your health.
Not necessarily, but that when you get sick, you know, you will be airlifted to a better hospital.
No.
But the reality is, sometimes you could end up in a hospital where you have neglected for a long time.
Yeah.
And it is incumbent upon us, when we get power, to realize that you yourself might benefit from services of a private hospital, but there are relatives who, by and large, have not been able to get to the level where you have gotten as a cabinet secretary, because you have cousins who are still in the village. You have uncles and aunties who are still in the village. But be that as it may,
Yes.
I also think that, you know, doctors have a big role to play in terms of the services they offer. And I'll contrast them with policemen. You know, as much as you might imagine that a policeman, you know, when you look at the grades they have when they enter the service, as opposed to the grades that a doctor might have, but the reality is that both of them offer essential services.
Yes.
But a policeman will not go on strike. But you see, a doctor, despite taking you call it hypocritical oath, they will abandon the hospital and go on strike and leave Mungai gasping for air. which I think, in my opinion, as much as they are agitating for their rights, I think it is unethical. Because tomorrow, once that pay is reinstated, once you get whatever you are looking for, then what happens? What happens to Mungai and his relatives? You know, I leave a grieving wife, I leave grieving children, and yet your salary, you have gotten your salary. So I think there is need for us to look at a middle line and say, look, because even a policeman cannot go on strike,
Yes.
are there essential services in this country
That's
where we must also have a conversation that they should not also go on strike?
I want to add something on,
Yes.
on him. It is unethical, embarrassing, uncouth for a doctor, a nurse, anybody working in the hospital to go on strike. Surely there should never be.
That's it.
Reason why,
yes.
the day, any one day, these guys are on strike, number of deaths go up.
They are actually increasing.
Do you know why nurses are living for the easiest place, Saudi Arabia, where they are earning better than Kenya? Because of remuneration. Why would nurses go to America, where now they are going to earn better than Kenya by far?
Yes.
Over 700,000 per month. Remuneration. What is hard for you as a second mid economy in Africa? Actually, people think we are third world. We are second mid economy in Africa. Why is it hard for you to check on people's salary? I mean, why is it hard? Why would police even think of going? Do you know how much policemen earn? Leave alone medics now. Medics are even better. Let's stop medics. Let's go to police. A constable goes home with 40,000. That is gross. Toa elfu kama 6-7. Anabaki na 33, 34. 33, 34 ni baba ya watoto 3. Then unasema corruption ishe kwa polisi. How? How can you pay someone 30,000 carrying a gun? Me, I'm not telling people anything, but I'm telling people to think.
That's
but how do you see people taking 50 bob kwa barabara, we start making noise, oh, makarao wako corrupt.
Yes.
What do you expect somebody who is earning 30,000 to do, and anaishi tao katikati, umempatia 30,000, umemtoa transfer ya Elgeyo Marakwet mahali kunanyesha kuna chakula, umemlete kijijini Nairobi CBD, asababu na 30,000.
I think that's why you know.
I mean, that argument is
yes.
That's why I agree with the president.
There
is need for a national conversation.
Yes.
There is need for a national conversation on this one.
Yes.
What do we as a society and as Kenya, whom do we consider to be our role models, and whom do we consider to be offering essential services?
Yes.
Because as it is now, a doctor might argue that he works better, has better grades than an MP in terms of even salary and remuneration.
Which is true.
And you might know that when it comes to passing the salaries of members of parliament, it is the only one time in the entire year of the life of parliament where both sides agree. Okay? But when it comes to doctors' strike, who offer essential services to the same people that elect members of parliament, there is no hue and cry from the floor of the house. It is ill-quiet.
One sentence.
Yes.
What is the function of parliament in the strike? Any strike? Have they tabled this in parliament? For an emergency. It should be a paper of emergency. That it is 3 weeks now, doctors on strike, we need to handle this in parliament. And where is the parliamentary committee chair? And everyone. Can't we have this in parliament? And parliament, skuma. What is the function of parliament? I mean, who are dying? Wanawapigia kura. The parliamentarians au ma MP ndio wanapigiwa simu kila siku. Nganga Kingara, and I can tell you, he's been in trouble for 2 weeks now, which is true, and I'm saying on TV is true. Watu wamekuwa kimpigia, awalipie bills.
The hospital.
Mimi nilimpinga, but I can tell you what is happening. Give the devil its due. Umtetee mahali na need. Nganga Kingara amekuwa kisumbuliwa na watu juu ya hospitali. Mimi siwezi msaidia, yeye ndiye ako kwa kiti. But angechukua hiyo issue aipeleke parliament, ingemuondolea mashida. Right now ni yeye ako kwa mashida, na Ruiru is the most populated area in Kenya. Do you know ni watu wangapi wanampigia simu sasa? Do you know watu wangapi wako kwa mlango yake? Watu wangapi wagonjwa? So wacha abebe mzigo pia, because he should be going to parliament to table this as a matter of urgency.
And by the way, and that's what I was to point this conversation to. Rakala, I just want us to listen to this particular statement so we can audit it together, whether it's just for the sake of speaking about it or the president actually meant what he said. Here's the thing, Nakuminja said we are releasing a lot of healthcare professionals from universities to the country.
Which is true.
And we do not have a place for them. Now here's the thing, according to policy though, an intern has to be posted, get paid, so you can actually get to contribute the workforce in the country. But then here's the thing, I'm going to read that particular statement again so we listen to it together. That doctors, we value your contribution, but we must live within our means. We can't spend what we don't have. The resources that we have are only sufficient to pay 70,000 shillings to interns for a year. Then they will be employed. But there's no guaranteed employment for these doctors that we're graduating. Currently, as it is, the government can't onboard more Mungai as it is. So why would the president say, we're going to pay you 70,000 and then later employ you, instead of coming out really to say, well, we don't have that money, we're going to pay you 70,000, then after that will be done and dusted. Are you trying to entice them into a deal that is not true, Mungai?
The irony of life. When I was growing up, there were careers that were sacrosanct. You know, when I grew up, a teacher, despite the fact that they did not earn, huge amounts of money, they were well respected in the village. If people knew your parents are teachers, or if a teacher passed by the compound, even children would hide simply because a teacher has showed up.
Does it?
And when we were growing up, and you asked any random child, what would you want to be when you grow up? They would either want to be a pilot or a doctor or an engineer. Now, what the irony of life is that now I think most children would want to be a member of parliament. You would want to be a president. You would want to be a cabinet secretary. Why? Because clearly this doctor has been striking from time immemorial.
Does it?
This teacher has been striking. But when you look at politicians, they are the only people who are able to afford a 10 million piece of watch. They are the only people who are able to afford top of the range vehicles. And it will reach a point, right now, you realize that, we are having brain drain in terms of the doctors we are getting moving to other areas, okay? But I can tell you in the future, most students will shun from going to be trained to become medics.
Yes.
And in the future, we are going to have a crisis in this country where we will be begging people, and it's coming. By the way, don't think that it's not forthcoming. Very soon, we are going to have a crisis because someone will sit down and ask themselves, is this a career I want? Because my sister went to school,
yes.
My brother went to school to study medicine. They have not been posted. When they are posted, they do not have the so-called stipend.
Yes.
And you ask yourself, even when they go for internship, I know of jobless doctors. I know of people who graduated some years back, and right now they are selling thrift clothes in Gekomba.
Does it?
And therefore, at the end of the day, someone asks themselves, is it worth it to undergo training for 5 to 6 years only for me to go out and tarmac? Because, what is the need? And therefore, in future, we are going to have a crisis where in those essential services, we are not going to get people who are going to train, to offer those services to Kenyans. But bringing back to your question in terms of the president and his statement, I think he has a valid point. And what's the point?
Yes.
The point is this. One, he says that we need a national conversation, which I think, in my opinion, is true. We need a conversation as Kenyans to discuss what exactly do we want as a country. If we don't want doctors and we don't have money to pay them as a society,
then
and as Kenyans, we say let's not train doctors. We don't need them. That's the reality. That's the conversation we need to have. And it's a genuine conversation.
Yes. Are you trying to make sense of what the president said, that we need to have a conversation? Because it's clear what he was saying. We need to have a conversation.
But he's been saying that. Have you ever had a conversation?
About living working within our means. That's what
he
he
has
said.
actually even set a date. He said
Yes.
from the 15th
Does
to
it?
the 17th.
Does it?
It's actually in the paper.
Yes.
We need to have a conversation
Does it?
as a country, one on wage bill,
Does it?
and ask ourselves this fundamental question. Because wage bill is also comparative.
Does it?
One of the questions we need to ask ourselves, do we need an SRC? First and foremost.
Yes.
Do we need an You see, no, let me tell you, it is still aligns with doctors. It still aligns with doctors.
Even as you say about that, is it the right kind of mind to tell majority of Kenyans to have a true conversation about wage bill, knowing very well that even as we sit here, any other time from now, that position for CIS might be made a reality, and they're not just locked at 23. JLAC opened it. They gave it to him to appoint as many as he can.
No, and I do not dispute.
Yes.
I am
So is it the right
you see,
mind
the
to tell-
president's,
Yes.
the president's view that we need a conversation,
Yes.
to him might be limited to a certain sectors.
Yes.
But as Kenyans, we need to broaden the sectors and have a discussion. And those discussions are as follows. When we look at the civil servants and the amount of money they consume as civil servants, vis-a-vis what is recommended in the PFMA Act, the Public Finance Management Act, when we look at the 30 vis-a-vis 70% on development vis-a-vis wage bill, and you look at the number of civil servants that we have, we need a conversation around that and ask ourselves, okay, SRC in the first instance, do we need it? Because part of SRC's mandate was to be able to harmonize salaries across the cadre and have equal pay for equal work. Okay? And ask ourselves this conversation. If we believe as a country that we don't have money to pay doctors, teachers, army, and the police, and the money that we have, we can only pay members of parliament, then we say, okay, fair enough. We privatize security, and we say, okay, because we are unable to pay policemen, let us arm G4S and the Securico and all others, so that we reduce the wage bill on policemen. And we say we don't have money to pay doctors. So what do? Let us privatize the sector, and let us make sure that you as Kenyan, it does not matter. Hata kama hauna pesa, you go to Aga Khan or MP Shah. That is your problem. You know, that is the kind of conversation, and a genuine and a serious conversation of saying, if we cannot put our money where our mouth is, then let us not have the discussion.
Does it? But it can't be the right man to come and
no,
take
he's the right. You see, he's the right. Sometimes, let me tell you, he's the right. You know, sometimes don't shoot the messenger.
Yes.
Don't shoot the messenger, because sometimes even God, because yesterday was Sunday, you remember when Elijah went to was it a desert or to the cave?
Yes.
The thing that was sent to bring him meat was the very thing that would have eaten the meat itself. And why is that important? Because sometimes you shoot the messenger, but what is important is the message. And what the president is saying, one, it is true, are we able to pay in the current scenario? And the reality is, a majority of the money that this country is collecting, you have seen, by the way, you might not know, but we have defaulted on pension payments. Pension payments are first charged on the consolidated fund accounts. If you did not know, we have defaulted. Now, if we are unable to put our money to cater for your retirement, Simba, then it's actually true, we need to have a conversation. Where are we exactly taking our money? It's a genuine conversation.
Yes. And this is the thing, and Ragal, I'm going to come to you so that you can weigh in on this particular one. How is it that every other Kenyan was waiting for the president to speak? And if you heard last Friday, majority of the union members were calling on the president to speak, and they said this, that you sent stooges to this particular meeting who've come in and they've got no basis at all.
Actually, lawyers were going, nobody else was going.
Does it?
Just lawyers, even ministers.
Is not a stooge.
And they called him, and guess what? And they called him that. They called him that.
No, he's not a stooge. Head of public service is a senior government official.
They called him that. They called him that. They said, Nakuminja and the rest of the guys who were here are puppets and stooges who can't solve this issue, so we needed to come and speak on this particular issue. They called him that. Here's the thing then.
Head of public service is not a stooge.
Here's the thing then, Mungai. I mean, when you look at that particular statement, Number one, when we want to qualify it, I mean, he said it in a charge. He said in a charge, number one. And number two, when you look at what he said, is that enough? I mean, we've been waiting for him to speak on it. Is that enough? Is that what we like to
I'll
hear
tell
from
you,
the president?
politically and in a leadership content speaking,
Yes.
it's very dangerous for a president to rush in to discuss matters of a strike when the strike starts. You know why? Because if the president is unable to resolve the issue at the presidency, then the country has no recourse.
Yes.
And those people that unfortunately are being called stooges, who is Nakumincha, who is the head of public service,
Yes.
those are very senior people.
Yes.
And they are actually the people who are supposed to handle the matter as it is, as we speak.
That's it.
And what they should do is that when the discussions are ongoing, whatever it is that they discuss on, they should be able to update their bosses, who is the deputy president and the president. And you see, in leadership, there is something we call back channeling.
Yes.
Back channeling is saying, you know, before the president wades in, this is what we have agreed on. This one is contentious. But even the union members, I'll tell you for a fact, if they get a good deal, the president will emerge and say, you know, this is what we have discussed and this is the offer. But for now, leadership-wise speaking, it would be very dangerous for the president, especially when they announce the strike, for the president to rush in and offer his opinion. But I agree, and I said I agree with the president. One, on a national conversation on where we are taking our money as a country. And secondly, on whether we are unable to meet the doctors' demands as they are. But I'll tell you something. Governments are going concerns. When you inherit a government, you inherit a government with good things and the bad that comes with it. Why is that important? Because the CBA that the doctors are using to bargain with was signed in 2017.
By Uhuru.
2017, it is Uhuru who signed that CBA.
It is the government of Jubilee where the president was equally part, deputy was equally part. Everyone in this government was part of Jubilee, so they signed.
Yes, they're the ones that appended. And therefore,
they know it.
What is good for the goose definitely must be good for the gander. You cannot inherit what's working and say it is good, and inherit what's not working and say you don't want to take it. You know, you must take all the eggs that you've been given and put them in the basket where you need to sort them out.
Here's the thing, Bragalo.
Yes.
Let's be true to the headlines that we've seen come to us in terms of knowing exactly where we stand as a government. And I'll read for you this particular headline. It's a story that we covered on April 6th. It talks like this. If you do a deeper analysis of how we are spending our money, then we're going to have a national conversation on where we are.
We are not going to have.
Here's the thing. It said that Ruto indeed is borrowing more than Uhuru and Kibaki, all right,
combined,
with lower development, despite, again, now listen to this, collecting more in taxes. So it's a government that is collecting more, it's borrowing more, but when it comes to development, it develops less than the two previous governments. I will go back to this particular headline that we started with this morning. Now, if you look at what it is that we're getting told again, I mean, when you read the headlines, you start to wonder, well, where are our priorities? If you look at even the allocation to the office of the First Lady and the Second Lady, if you look at majority of the supplementary budgets, you're going to see that the initial set amount for the First Lady was 444 million. Right now, she's going to get 593.91 million. Office of the Second Lady was just getting 292.86 million. It's going to get 717.66 million. That's almost a billion in terms of that money. And when we're talking about this, the position of CIS is also actually a thing that is now sitting in the government. JLEC has already looked to it. They've made it open. That look here, you can
employ as much as you want.
You can employ as much as you want. All right? It's up to you now.
To decide where you stop.
That's it. That indeed when we're talking about wage bill, it is right there in your face about the wrong moves that this government is making, that we are not living within our means. What conversation? Is this man right?
I told you we don't need a conversation.
What
it's
do we
already,
need, Ragala?
it's already, I would use the deputy president's wife.
Yes.
We need just to pray for them. There's no conversation. These people didn't come from limbo. These people have been with us. They were born in Kenya. They struggled through the Moi regime. They were young.
Yes.
Ruto was in university, actually in primary school when Moi got in. He went to university under Moi's regime. Everyone was there.
Yes.
Some even worked under Moi, the deputy president. Okay? We were there. Some of us came and hear stories, but I, Eric Ragala, was in primary school when Moi was a president. Moi left when I was in college, a third year. And I campaigned thoroughly to remove him because I knew what Moi did to us. So we needed a regime change. And I keep saying we are back to Moi's time.
Yes.
Back to Moi's time on what? Back to Moi's time when we would see people riding on Range Rovers, big vehicles. Actually, there were no V8, but we would see Range Rovers. If you remember the green Range Rovers, there is this typical green for the former Range Rovers.
Yes.
But there was nothing in the country. We would see Moi pass with the limousine Mercedes, and there was nothing in the country. We would hear Total Man has Yaya as his property. There was nothing people owned in Kenya. That is what is happening today, where JM said a few become rich and extremely rich, then 1,000 and 1,000 and 1,000 millions are extremely poor. That is where we are today. We don't need to have a national conversation on CASs. We don't need them. And the government running for 2 years now without them. So what are they going to add that is not happening today? Are we not going to add them a salary, an office, vehicles, more personnel? Wage bill is going to be cheaper. I beg to ask. I beg to know. I beg to want to hear. So when you tell me about wage bill, I'm looking at even the county level, where they keep complaining of wage bill and they keep employing. They're employing too many people, doing double, triple jobs, a job that was done by one person. And still they're saying, our wage bill is so high, we need to regulate our wage bill. So it is making noise, but you're doing the same thing that you're talking about. So there's no national conversation we're going to have. And there are sentences that are synonymous with Ruto. We need to have a conversation about this. It is a normal statement. It is, I've heard it. I don't know why you're talking about it. It's a conversation that we've been having.
Yes.
Every time he talks, we need to have a conversation. We need to have a conversation. We need to have a conversation about environment. We need to have a conversation about agriculture. We need to have a conversation about healthcare. We need to have a conversation about everybody, water, salary. You've never had, we need to have a conversation.
So,
there are things we need to talk to.
Yes. Ragala, what would you like to hear from the president?
I need to hear nothing.
I
need to hear nothing from the president. I need to see.
Yes.
I don't need to hear. I need to see. I need to see doctors back at work.
The doctors called on him last week to come in back. It was in Ghana. They told him, once you come back, the guys that you sent here, puppets, they can't solve it. You come and solve it yourself. Comes back and tells them that position that the guys
the president talked through Nahumincha. My hands are tied. Nahumincha was very honest. And that's why Nahumincha, to me, I look at her as somebody who doesn't know what she's doing. And that's why Kosgei was sent to assist Nahumincha, because it seems Nahumincha was talking too much truth. When someone says, my hands are tied, that person is telling the truth. Useli hata kumrushia mawe. Asha kwambia mimi nimefungwa mikono, mimi sijui cha kufanya. Nyinyi kaeni tu strike. Then anakaa hivi ananyamaza. Kosgei comes and say reverse psychology. You see the way he plays reverse psychology. Doctors are very important people. We need to sit down and talk about their salaries. They have been working hard. Now people start sitting. Then wanakunjwa tena mkono inarudishwa nyuma. Unaona ile ukikunjwa wanaona hapana hapa huyu jamaa anakuja tukukunjisha. Then we are like, no. This is the next person to the president. Even more than the CS. the only person who can be sent by the president, who is near the president. Then let the president come. Then when he comes in church, he says, we live within our means. Fine. Then it's fine. We live within our means. Doctors, you can work in private hospital and make locums and make even more money. Do it. That's what I'm saying. Yes. Do it. I mean, it doesn't hurt when you're called at Nairobi Hospital, you make 100,000 when you go to a surgery, an invoice of 100,000. Money that will keep in the street here making noise. Go get that money, my friend. Why you get that money? Someone can pay 100,000 in Nairobi Hospital. Go get your money. Why are you still, when the hustler nation will remember that they have their hustler people that they should be talking for, then they'll be coming on the table. Then again, doctors, why are you hurting? There are doctors who are needed everywhere out of the country. Go. If you can go to UK, go. If you go to Australia, go. Go get money. Go get your life. Hii Kenya siya, I'm sorry ilikuwa inakuja vibaya kwa mdomo yangu. Hii Kenya siya na ni ya mtu. Unaona? You go get your salary, come back to Kenya. Because you make noise here, nobody will hear you. Nurses, under WHO, brother, we are supposed to have 1 doctor per 400 patients.
Does it?
The only country that is closest is Malaysia, where we have 1 doctor per 600 patients. In Kenya, we have 1 doctor in 17,000 patients. You need to treat 17,000 people per day. Because everyone is sick in this country. You've never known that. If you're not hurting your head psychologically, you're hurting on your toe, you hit it. I'm just head to toe, yani. You hit it. So somewhere you are...
Even the pocket is hurting.
Even the pocket is... So somewhere you have to be seeing someone. So you need to treat 17,000 patients per day. So how many surgeries do you do? I'll give an example of a hospital, normal hospital. A surgical list. We have, normal hospital has 3 main theaters. Maternity theater, emergency theater, okay? And I've forgotten the other name. So there's a theater kept for emergency, theater kept for maternity. That's why I use maternity a lot, because it's very important. So these 3, you can find maternity theater doesn't have a list.
Yes.
But by the end of the day, it can have 20 to 30 surgeries. Okay? Emergency theater is ever busy. Go to emergency theater in KNH. Unaona hizo ambulance vile ukuja, kuna watu kujanga tu shua kama wanaenda theater direct. Wengine wako na hematoma imejaa kwa kichwa, you need to drill the head to remove blood clot, or else this person is going to die. Emergency theaters. Then I'm forgetting the other name. Then there is that runs the hospital, the theater that runs the normal hospital.
Yes.
Unakuta in a day, the normal theater that runs the hospital iko na 10 cases, and some of them are long, abdominal surgery, nini, ni long cases. So wako na 8 surgeries. Unakuta mwanza asubuhi, jioni wengine wanatokea wanaenda through the night. Then kuna emergency theater wamekuwa na emergencies kama 7-8, na they are long because mwingine amekuja na bleed, you need to funga hizi bleedings. Then from there you have another theater ya maternity. Hiyo ndio ngumu sana juu inakuanga busy. Me have done those jobs bwana.
Yes.
Unaweza simama kwa mat ushangae, ukitoka hapo unanuka meconium.
Yes.
So huyu ndiye mtu, and you know how people sweat in theater. Nguo tu inakuwa maji, juu unavaa vitu mingi, nguo inakuwa maji, you drain, hata kukula kunanga. People think theater people eat. People drink more water than they eat. Haya, unaitisha pesa yako, husaidiwi. I lost my best friend, a lady, deputy med soup thicker. She finished medicine masters 2015 KNH. She was posted to Thika, became a deputy. When COVID came, she was in the front line treating COVID. COVID ilimchapa, akaenda KU.
Yes.
I'm saying the truth. Alipopelekwa KU, we medics were running down to help her survive. Tulitoa damu zetu zitengenezwe ndi apewe nini unajua I need damu ya red. Yes, kuna part ya damu ana need boost.
Yes.
Zile dawa za COVID ulikuwa na dungo moja ni 100k. We did anything we could to make our lady survive.
Yes.
she passed on us. Why? We could not help her. We could only see her go. We had our dear friend in South Sea. She died on us. South Sea, Nairobi South Hospital, she died on us. So when you ask yourself, you cannot cover your own family against deadly diseases.
Yes.
Hepatitis B, C, what have you. You are treating the patients with hepatitis here. And you can, people think HIV is normal. There are things that are hotter than HIV. What will happen to you? Your liver will chap and you are going fast and the furious. Ile movie tunasemanga Fast and the Furious. You are going. You cannot take yourself to Nairobi Hospital, but you are treating a patient who has a bupa insurance in Nairobi. Do you know what a bupa insurance is? You should look for it. You can't afford it. Someone has a bupa insurance in Nairobi Hospital. You can only imagine how that person is going to be treated. But you are asking for insurance, you're being told to live within your means. So you want a doctor to go to Mama Lucy when he is already down. What can't we do for ourselves? Mimi nakusaidia ikifika siku yangu, mimi nikufilie mbali. That's what basically in the normal language you are saying. Yes. Si basi mimi nijisave, wewe kaa na mahasla wako, ile siku umeona wameenda sana, utakuja kutuambia, now we can talk. And I asked you a question. Do you want to tell me Turkana, which is the largest county in Kenya and very vast and actually one of the most poorest, what is happening there? Are patients not dying today now? They're not getting health care.
It's unimaginable.
I mean, mbona tuna joke na maisha ya watu?
Yes.
Na ni daktari anaitisha insurance unamnyima. Aende atibu wagonjwa unamnyima insurance, surely akia mama unamnyima insurance. Na maisha yake ndio insurance ya wagonjwa wengine because akiwa kazi wengine wanaishi. Na kwa maisha yake atakuwa amesave wagonjwa wangapi because he's an insurance of other people. Unamnyima insurance. Akia mama hii Jubilee, hiyo ati Jubilee, hii UDA government pia ina joke.
That's it. But once we come back from this tiny break that we're going into, Mungai, the question is going to be, there are now people of both CS na Kumincha on the spot, that in one way or another, she might have driven the government into this particular strike, because when it comes to policy and policy implementation, that is something that she should have championed for. Now, I want to remind you that the first reason why these doctors actually went on strike is because of the non-posting of medical interns. It was simple as that she sat at the Ministry of Health, received 3.6 billion with a deficit of 1.2 billion, but she didn't fight harder. It's because of her that we are here. Had she worked harder to know that the CBA that was agreed to in 2017 and seated right there in this office, but she was quiet on it until the doctor said, and I want to quote the doctors by this morning, they said, we are not the ones who strike, it's the government that is on strike.
Yes,
because
it
they failed
is.
to implement policy and that particular CBA. So once we come back, should she be put on the spot for this particular strike? And also on top of that, there's also one CS who is also in trouble, Mithika Linturi. They want him gone. Is he also to blame for the fertilizer scandal? Also, once we come back, President Uhuru Kenyatta has been speaking. Let's weigh in on the apology that one Rigathi Gachagua made. Was it a true apology now that the president has said, you guys will behave like Judas, but you'll still come back by the end of the day? Once we come back right here on the Morning Drift, my name is Simba Elijah Charles. Can I get still seated with Mr. Mungai and Mr. Wagaru Eric this morning? Good morning.
University of Kenya, which was chartered on the 3rd of August 2023, aims to revolutionize higher education by breaking down barriers such as cost, previous exam grades, and geographical location through online open learning at the comfort of your home, job, etc., thus ensuring accessibility to education for all members of the society. In a nutshell, Open University of Kenya leverages technology to deliver education.
The Open University has brought a new door in the Kenya education system, where learners are able to access education in a flexible, affordable, and all-inclusive.
Intakes ongoing for May and September. For more information, call us on 0202000211 or 0202000212 or email us at info@ouk.ac.ke. Open University of Kenya, an innovative university for inclusive prosperity.
Kiangazi imedhiri sana katika area hii yetu ya Laikipia. Mara mingi sana katika Laikipia kuna wafugaji na kuna wakulima. Hakuna yule ambaye amesaidika, hata wakulima pia wajasaidika na wafugaji pia wajasaidika. Lakini kwa siku ya leo tunasema kwamba Loto Foundation imetusaidia sana, kwa sababu inalisha jamii ambaye hawana nguvu ya kupata lishe mahali moja au nyingine.
Tumekuwa tunalala hoi. Ukweli kabisa. Mimi usiamini. Hata mtu mwingine jinsi tumeleta hapo usiku akuwa amesimia. Akuwa na siku 3 hajaumwa kitu. Kwa hivyo tunashukuru sana Loto. Leo watoto wengi ameshiba.
Nashukuru Mungu kwa Ruto Foundation siku ya leo. Maana wamekuja at least manyumba 100 leo na 10 itaweza kunuka kitunguu jioni ya leo. Tulikuwa na njaa, si mchezo, ilikuwa na njaa, si ya ile ya kusema iko njaa.
Ya kwanza tumekuwa na watoto ambao wameshikwa na hata watu wazima na utapia mlo, na pia tukiangalia hii ni area ambayo imejaa watu ambao wana rely na mifugo, na mifugo mingi imeweza kuisha kwa sababu ya kiangazi, na tunashukuru sana The Loto Foundation kwa msaada wao ambao wameweza. Asanteni sana.
Every time you play Lotto, 25% goes to the Loto Foundation, which supports our fellow Kenyans through various causes. Thank you for your help. Together, we are changing lives.
Come, let us show you place sport to build your dream home in Baraka Garden, situated just 5.4 kilometers from Blue Post Junction along the Thika Gatura Road. Place finest with secure gated community, Majina Stima Eco on-site, Usitans na stories za title deeds ziko ready. Plus, flexible payment plans and financing options. Pay 30% and clear the rest in installments. Get in touch, twende site visit. For more information, contact 0794 333 222 or 0722 668 700 or visit our website www.mahasibuhousing.co.ke. Experience the beauty of Baraka Gardens today. Start your day with a workout routine, an exciting moment of exercise that is simple but powerful for your ultimate fitness. Build your strength, shape and body muscles with lunges, push-ups, squats, burpees, planks, dumbbells and more. Let's work out every Monday to Saturday from 6:30 a.m. on Fitness Zone, a one surefire way to attack your fitness regimen effectively.
Welcome back to the morning brief. Now, quickly then, let's end this conversation on the doctor strike as we wait to see exactly what conversation then that the president is going to have with the doctors, or the government is essentially going to have with these particular doctors. Mungai, let's wait on it like this then. That in one way or another, when we start to look at this particular issue, that if there had been silent negotiations from the get-go, that had there been somebody working in the background saying we need to take this route, we need to negotiate a bit earlier, we could have counted 2 years into this government before this particular strike, which then isolates one person in our Ministry of Health, Nakumincha, the CS. One, on the posting of interns, Treasury actually did write to her, telling her that we can only release 3.6 billion some time back. There was a deficit of 1.2 billion. Nakhumicha comes out and says, well, my hands are tied, Treasury doesn't have that money, and they only give me 3.6 billion. But according to policy, Treasury needs to release the money that is supposed to facilitate the posting of these medical interns in various hospitals across the country. But she didn't fight enough. That this negotiation didn't come. If you listen to majority of azimio members of parliament, they said, hold on, this is not a surprise. That she knew. She would have known that this was coming.
Yeah, she should know.
She should have known. On that basis alone, and we do have a president who complains that to some CSs, I know more about your ministries than you do. Should she take the blame?
I think no. Nakhumicha, if that's the correct pronunciation. I think she's a victim of circumstances.
Yeah.
You know how when a hyena wants to eat its children, it starts telling them they smell like a goat. I think that's Nakhumicha for you. She's a victim of circumstances that have conspired to put her in the spotlight. Why? The medics need money. Nakhumicha does not have money of her own. Money comes from Treasury, the exchequer. If the exchequer says I have no money, she can negotiate for as many donkey years as she needs, and still there will be no money. And that is why, in my opinion, the head of public service coming to negotiate was a masterstroke.
Yes.
Because the head of public service has a view of Treasury, and he has a view of the CS for Health's docket, and for he's able to coordinate both, and he has an ear of the president.
Yes.
So that would mean that if there are legislative issues that need to be dealt with, then the head of public service is in a good space because he can communicate to the National Assembly speakers. If there is need for an ear on the presidency, he stands at the right place, similarly to the two CSs.
Yes.
So I think the head of public service going in was a good thing. I think the CS for Health is being bullied. You know, sometimes when you find a weak target, you want to maximize. And you know she's not a politician, so she will not be able. I have seen that Babu Owino has gone to parliament with an intention to impeach her.
Yes.
Well, I mean, why we have bandits all over in northeastern killing innocent Kenyans? Why haven't we seen a member of parliament going to table impeachment motion against the CS for Interior? Why haven't we seen members of parliament go ahead to impeach Midhuka Linturi, who is alleged to have sold some, under his docket, donkey feces as fertilizer? So I think they are just isolating the lady. They have seen a weak target, and I think they are just bullying her. But be that as it may, this animal called CBA, Collective Bargaining Agreement, I have been hearing it from time immemorial. And I think CBAs, whichever CBAs have been signed by subsequent governments, should be put in the national museums as symbols of shame. Because I believe CBAs are signed by governments with a view of dishonoring them. It is just like the way you manufacture a tissue paper, knowing you're going to flush it down the toilet. I mean, regardless of how beautiful it looks, regardless of how many colors you put in it, you know that's a piece of
tissue paper.
I wanted to call it something else, but thank you.
It will still end up wherever it's supposed to.
It will still end up down the sewage line. And I think that is CBS for you in this country. And it doesn't matter whether they were from the Moi era, because even right now I can tell you what will be signed again is another CBA to be dishonored by a subsequent government. And therefore, I feel that even as the union leaders debate their issues, they also need to sit down and reflect and ask themselves, what exactly are they going to say? Because they will sign something, don't be fooled. In 2017, they striked for 3 months. This one, we are just into 1 month. If 2017 was anything to go by, we have 2 more months to go to sign another document that will be dishonored in 2027 or 2028. And that's the reality of life. And I think union officials need to call themselves for a sitting and ask themselves, what exactly is this that they keep on signing? It's like every union leader, when they are campaigning for power, they campaign on the previous CBA, knowing that it will be dishonored and they will sign another one to be used by other officials when they come in to campaign using. So one, I think CBAs are useless and worthless papers. Even courts don't respect them. You know, they have, unions always try to go, actually they are always taken to court by the government, first to thwart the attempt to strike. The labor court, unfortunately, most of the times always sides with the government against the wishes of ordinary Kenyans. So if a paper cannot stand scrutiny in a competent court of law, why do we keep signing them? I mean, as Ragalo had said, maybe it is time we told ourselves as doctors, when you graduate, you tell yourself, look, I am not made for public service.
Also?
From the word go, ab
Yes.
initio. And because I am not cut out for public service, if I do not get a job with Aga Khan, Nairobi Hospital, Karen Hospital, and all those high-end hospitals, then I might as well go and become a farmer, or I might as well go and become, you know, sell smokies on the streets.
Yes.
I mean, it's a better calling than to go on strike year in, year out. I mean, that decision has to be made from the word go. Because as it appears to me, they will, yes, I can tell you for a fact, they will sign another document that is meant to be dishonored in a few years to come. So why are we mad people that we do the same things year in, year out and expect different results? Isn't that insanity?
Ragalo, final sentiments on this particular one is because as members of parliament last week actually did table a motion in the National House to get one CS Tahumincha impeached. Is she to blame for this crisis that Ministry of Health finds itself in right now?
Yes and no. Nahumincha knew the strike was coming. In every ministry, there are employed lawyers.
Yes.
And quite a number of them. Their function is to read and check the near available and far negotiations. So one reminder was given to them about the interns that were supposed to be deployed and given their jobs. 1 year down the line, there's an intern who is wasting a year home, not taken anywhere. So they are wasting that young man or young lady for another year doing nothing. And every year we are producing interns. So if I was a class ahead of you, there's this pride that I'm more senior than you. Then comes a time now we are doing internship together. I was 2 years in front of you, but we are doing intern together. So our employment will be the same. And even studies in masters and all that, it is pegged of the years you're working.
Yes.
So the guy you are 3 years above, you'll go the same time for masters because you need to work for 3 years, then you apply for master's program.
Yes.
1 year internship, 3 years working, then you apply for master's program. So if I was in front of you when I was a Form 3 and you are a Form 1, you are my classmate in internship. That is wrong. That is socially norm is wrong.
Yeah.
Socially norm comes back even to our homes. I should marry before my brother who is behind me. That is social norm. But when your younger brother marries before you, you're even asked by the elders, where nike modo.
What's going on
What's
here?
going on?
Yeah.
Unajua nani ameleta wajiko?
Yeah.
Wewe kwani nini ni mbaya? So it is like that in social norm, that the younger you are, the elder person will. So you are clogging these people together. Even in masters, they will be there together. They become classmates. You're getting where I am now.
Yes.
So 2 years down the line, 1.5 years, this group of people are together. They should not be together. They're going to be interned together. Some were calling themselves senior than the others. Sasa nakwambia tunatoshana. Then from there, what is happening? So you are hurting them. You are wasting their time.
Yes.
You are wasting the time of their study upwards. Because basically, medicine and nursing is different than any other cadre. These people live in school. Unapigaga miaka 3 unaenda shule because mwenye kombe nyuma yako anataka kwenda shule. Na unataki kesho uite mwenye yuko nyuma yako ati senior. Yeye ndiye atakusainia karatasi wakati unaenda round. So una make sure unaenda shule ndio mwenye yuko nyuma yako asipate. That's why you find doctors are always doing their best mwenye yuko nyuma yake asimpate. So inafika mahali mnatulia, when you reach masters you want to go to PhD. So hapo inakuanga ni mtu vile anataka. But what I'm asking is very simple. Why can't the government understand very simple things? Someone wants insurance cover. Someone wants to be paid this. Someone wants this. They short themselves. Where did they choose money come from? Community health extension workers. Where did the money come from? What are they doing right now in the society? I never see them. I'm saying the truth, I don't see them. They were supposed to be the so-called doctors wa kupeana albendazole. You remember there was a kabaga pale wamewekewa dawa wanajiita madaktari. Yeah. So ilikuwa where did the money come from? It was the whole country launch, 47 counties. Where did the money come from? Out of the 3-point-something billion, that was the money. Because if that money was released 3-point-something billion, why didn't that money be used then? Yes. Usemekane we took 300 interns tukaacha 200 kwa hatukuwa na enough, wangoje kidogo. You see, that is logic. Haukupeleka hata. So 3-point-something billion ndio ilitumiwa kwa machuza and what have you. Did we need them? What is the function of level 2? Level 2, the dispensary level. Yes. That is where the management starts. Dispensary level. So you took the job of dispensary level, give it to community extensive workers, so extension workers. So what are we doing? Si wacha au choose wakuwe madaktari basi. They choose. Mfanye kazi ya kuzalisha, kufanya surgery kwa manyumba za watu. Do the jobs because pesa ilipelekwa kwenu. Our country has a problem. And the problem is our country is from the hustler narrative. We want to make sure hustlers are happy by showing that we are working for them, whereas we are not doing anything for them. We want to make sure that the person who we call for quotes is the kada ya chini, yes, amepata kufurahi. But we are not looking at the national outlook. The national outlook now, we look at our friends should be getting jobs, but hawa katikati waumie. Hawa katikati wakiumia, the nation will grind. Yes. The workers of the country are the level 2 human being. Wale wanaitangwa anaishi Buru, Umo, hao ndio the worker. Na wakiumia, the country will grind. That is where we are. Right now the country is standing still because doctors are on strike. Doctors should not strike even a day. A day is too long. But we let them strike for 1 month. It's inhumane to make them strike for 1 month. It's really inhumane to make them. But what country is this? Do we care? I mean, we are normal black people. Black people don't feel anything. That's why wazungus colonized us, because they thought when they beat you, your skin, you can't feel pain. So us, we were naturally acculturated by the mzungu thing, that the only thing a black people hear ni torment. Yeah. Akidungwa msumari iumie sana, anachukua dawa ya kufunika msumari, anaenda kwingine. So that's what we want. Hii doctor strike ikiumiza sana, tutawapatia pesa kidogo, then tutulie tungojea analysis. We are not supposed to do that. We are now supposed to call them and renegotiate their document. We say, now this we can handle, hii tusukume mbele kidogo mwingine apate. That's what my brother is saying. But are they doing that? No, we've been told hakuna pesa. Hakuna pesa, but we are preparing ourselves to 2027 election. Hakuna pesa, but we are looking forward to have a prime minister in 2027. So we'll be having money to give the prime minister. So NADCO becomes very important for 2027 prosperity. Yes. So I don't know whether the dead people will be the ones who will be voting, because now many people are hurting and many are dying. Cancer prevalence has gone up, and many other diseases that were never a problem today. And people are dying of some of these conditions. But it's not a problem because it's not with you. But one day, like my brother said, we will have an accident somewhere in Nithi, and someone will have to be taken to Nithi or Chuka level 5 to be managed.
Yes.
By the same doctor you didn't want to pay. Nobody is out of the woods. Msidhani Nairobi Hospital iko karibu, inakuanga mbali. Ask a patient who have a heart failure how Nairobi Hospital can be far. Anaishi Hurlingham, Nairobi Hospital iko macho, anaiona ndio ile pale hali na hawezi ifika. By the time anafika pale, myocardio, MI imemgonga na ameenda. So let's not be happy when we see such things happen, especially when you hear there is a go-slow in police. That one is bad. Many a times I hear there is a go-slow in police, a go-slow in police. Should police even have a go-slow? When you go abroad, police, their training is a diploma and a degree. It's only in Kenya where we train police 9 months, army 6 months. When you go to the countries we call developed, police undergo 2-year training, 1-year training, 1 full year, 2-year training. Akitoka hapo ana graduate kama mtu yuko university, anapewa document ya graduation, hivyo anavaa graduation. Because one, they are taught everything, policing, first aid, nini, anapewa document ya first aid na kila kitu inaenda na police. Anatoka kwa police, nini anakuwa police service. But our country, we change the name police service, but still train them to beat and baton.
We are training
doctors who are on strike and are not even throwing stone. You baton a doctor, you hit with a tear gas. That is a training they are given, but we are called a service. We should train police and pay them as per their training. Go to you can Google. How long does a police get trained in Norway? That is 2 years program. They graduate with a diploma in police. I don't know how it is called. There is a name, I've forgotten. 2-year program. And it is a document where you can be trained and get employed anywhere. But our country, the only thing you can do, go run in Kiganjo. Do you know running is not part of police?
But how do you chase thieves?
No, it's not about chasing. It is called physical fitness. It is called physical fitness. But there is nowhere that for you to be a good policeman, you should be good in running.
That's it.
And you should have all the teeth.
Yeah.
And you should be able to wink eyes, I don't know what. You should be this height. You want to tell me there are no police who are shorter in Eskimos kwenye wanatokanga kule nini? So issue ni we need to train people. But mi ukiniuliza, mtu wa kwanza alipo mshahara ni askari. The minimum a police should be paid constable kabisa Kenya hii 70,000. A constable should start na 70 na hiyo ni take home. Anastahili kwanza na 80 ikatakatwe. Hizi pesa za Ruto za housing ziende abaki na 70. If a police can earn 70, akichukua 50 bob tutamuuliza swali. Bro, you wanna earn 70, you can accrue a loan of 3-4 million. But ukilipa police 30,000, anaweza chukua loan ya $500,000. Nini tunasaidia watu?
So the development essentially is stuck at some point. Now, gentlemen, if you can allow me, because of time, there are 2 issues that we're left to look at this morning. In as regards the actually the state of education in the country, and also the issue of fake fertilizers. Turns out that indeed the supply is still currently ongoing as it is, because yesterday we did a story about how substandard fertilizer is still in circulation. 3 suspects were arrested in Nakuru allegedly with fake fertilizer. Farmers in most parts of the country are now worried about going for that fertilizer because they're not so sure what they are going to receive. Again, bags of also suspected fake fertilizer have been impounded in Bungoma. That's yesterday as well. Now, this is what members of parliament, senators want. They want distributors and sellers of fake fertilizer to be arrested and prosecuted. Mungai, here's a question that we're asking this morning. I mean, we're dealing with branded fertilizers, so it's very easy for you to know where these fertilizers come from if you're given somebody the contract to supply this fertilizer. If you're going to blame anybody, I mean, CAPS already do know the names of these suppliers and the people behind these particular suppliers. Why is it that 1 week down the line, we're still talking about they should be arrested and prosecuted, that fake fertilizer is still in the market? Is it, again, a failure of the relevant agencies as well, Mungai?
First, I must say on the issue of fertilizer, one thing we must understand is that in this country, the players of fertilizer are very few.
Yes.
And it's a multi-billion business in this country. And there are two things. One is that when a new regime comes in, they want to come in essentially with their own team, and sometimes even businessmen. And sometimes you're likely to have sabotage. You know, it's not easy to cut off someone who's been earning $1 billion plus and just cut their arm. So there's likely to be sabotage in the value chain. But having said that, when the issue of fake fertilizer first emerged, there was a knee-jerk reaction to deny that such fertilizer did not exist, which then metamorphosized into the government is going to test, which then transited into we have checked and we have found that yes, there is some element of infiltration in terms of the companies that supply, and one company has been supplying a donkey shit, so to speak. But the truth is, we as a country, we don't have ethics. We are simply people. How can I put it? You know, the only reason why today I'm not wearing a 10 million watch is, one, because I can't afford it. Secondly, because I'm not a government official. And thirdly, because most likely I have not gotten an avenue that I can use to cheat and earn 10 million. And that's, you know, if you were to do a survey on Kenya, 90% of Kenyans,
yes,
it's the opportunity that is lacking for us to cut corners and get rich.
Yes.
You see, fake fertilizer, sugar laced with mercury, condemned sugar in thicker warehouses are all hallmarks of a broken system, and a system where traders will do anything in collusion with government officials to kill Kenyans. And it does not matter. When your child dies, you're just collateral damage. And we've taken even that bad manners to politics. You know, you can die as many as you want so long as we get power. Now, these bad manners of fertilizer, they have actually arrested they have closed one company, I think it's called KCL. It was closed down. They have arrested the directors. In fact, I saw the top criminal lawyers are the ones representing them. You know, when I say the top, I don't necessarily mean in terms of them being able to argue your case, but in terms of optics. They have also taken up the matter. And so government has arrested. But I can tell you, anyone who supplies fake fertilizer is a candidate for hanging. You know why? Because we are relying on that fertilizer to boost production as a country. Now, if someone threatens food security for a country such as ours, and in a country where food prices are spiraling up, then anyone who seeks to sabotage our collective effort to feed the nation is a candidate for hanging without even lending an ear to them. Why? Because you cannot purport to make money on our own account and our own behalf so that only your family survives and you kill ours.
Yes.
I mean this, I do not have a way of putting it, but I think I believe government has not lent this matter the seriousness it deserves, especially in terms of punishment and in terms of establishing along that value chain. Because even police, you want to tell me, Simba, that today you can close where Lookuptv is and be packing fake fertilizer, and intelligence does not know.
So
The chief of that area does not know.
Isn't it? But that's
the employees that you are hiring to package fake fertilizer, because they know, the employees know.
Yes.
Those employees are going to discuss with their spouses in the evening and say, na unajua kuna kipindi tunapiga huko kwa nini, and those spouses are going to tell their neighbors, and they are going, I mean, it's an open secret.
It's an open secret.
So the DCI officers in that region,
yes,
the intelligent officers in that region are also candidates for hanging.
Yes.
I mean, the beauty about this country is that Saiso is cheap.
But what about,
rope is not expensive.
What about the CS? But why can't we also put him in this? Because it's come out in public saying that even all the reports that have been outlined outside here by media, they're false reports, and there's no fake fertilizer in the market.
Before we reach to the CS,
yes,
you see, there's a song called Redemption Songs, and it says that we must emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. Mental slavery is ourselves as Kenyans allowing ourselves to die, knowing that fellow Kenyans are the ones participating in the process. And that is why I'm saying we will get to the CS. But even before we get to the CS and the director of NCPBA, because he had an obligation also to ensure that whatever was supplied through his warehouses was good enough for Kenyans, because Kenyans incurred money.
On that basis, why haven't we seen a couple of firings from KEBS, from NCBP as well, from a couple of directors, the relevant authorities that should make sure there's quality control for this fertilizer to get to the people of Kenya? Mungai, are we sitting back and saying that we are very, very comfortable letting investigations continue, when in reality the government has even gone right ahead to withdraw 2,000 bags of fake fertilizer?
You know, Simba, today is fake fertilizer. Tomorrow is fake mercury. Oh no, not fake mercury. Is sugar,
yes,
laced with mercury.
Yes.
The other time, they are going to distribute CDs to Kenyans that are dysfunctional, and Kenyans are going to contract all manner of diseases. Okay? What is my point? My point is, it takes one agency to slacken. It just takes one agency to slacken, and it's going to have a spiral effect on all the sectors that we have in this country.
Yes.
I do not understand why Mithika Linturi, the CS, has taken a high moral ground,
yes,
to deny the existence of fake fertilizer, and KEBS has come out now and says that they have tested it and it's fake.
It's fake.
I do not know whether
yes,
he has conspired or he is a co-conspirator with the advancers of death, the merchants of death. I do not know. But what I am saying is the people who are directly affected are candidates for hanging. And for the first time, you know, even in the US, in some states, they hang people.
They're still off, yes.
And amongst the things that have gone up in this country, rope is not one of them. We have cheap rope and strong ropes that we can use to hang some of the public officials that we have.
Yes.
And we hang them, even if we don't officially sanction it, we need to hang them unofficially.
Yes.
As public spectacle.
Just before I cross over to Ragalo, Mungai, take 45 seconds to answer to this. I mean, the president is appointing authorities to some of these parastatals we're talking about there this morning. KEBS, National Cereals and Produce Board, he has the power to hire and fire. Why hasn't he done that? This is a project that is close to his heart as it can be.
What I know for sure, wanasema kwa Kiswahili mkoko ndio unaalika maua.
Yes.
Na wanasema mugala muue lakini haki yake mpe. And the haki is that when we had a similar scenario in KEMSA, it affected including a sitting PS. I believe that even in this scenario, because the beauty is government officials went out to castigate the media, and it would appear that the media then decided they were going to dig this to its logical conclusion. I believe that there is more to this than meets the eye, and I believe in due time heads will be rolling.
Does it? Ragala, it's a project that ensures food security for the country. If you're looking at the priorities for government, you will say that is number one, that there's food security in the country. Then, Ragalo, you like to think that any other person would be very quick to fire, to get it right. And guess what? You have a CS who's even speaking against the ongoing investigations in the country, saying that there's no fake fertilizer. The media that is putting this report is even going to call some of them crooks, is even going to look at the conduct of majority of these journalists who are doing this story. When you have the likes of Korea who are saying, we apologize, or because of the fake fertilizer, we've gone in and withdrawn 2,000 bags of that fake fertilizer. But still, a week down the line, and Ragalo, this is what we put it into perspective. In fact, it's not even a week down the line. This particular story that we did yesterday is from 11 hours ago, where 120 bags of suspected fake fertilizer was nabbed in a Bungoma. A week ago, remember this story broke almost 2 weeks ago, again, there was substandard fertilizer that was still in circulation. And you have a CS, you have KEPS, you have National Cereals and Produce Board, and these guys have not lost their jobs, Ragalo, when we're talking about the food security for country. Somebody sat here, where you sit, Ragalo, and said, you know, we as Kenyans, we haven't understood the priority for our government. Number one, food security. That's what feeds the country. You cannot have a country if you're not food secure. That any other person in this line who misbehaves with it should be taken to the book. Now, in the next harvesting season, Ragalo, if the crops fail, we'll be talking about this country being food insecure. And guess what? No firing has been done so far. Nobody's in court. The numbers that we expect to be in court today, as it is. And I was speaking to my dad yesterday, who said, oh, so it's the small fish. That's the little guys down here who have been arrested and taken to court. But where are these relevant authorities? Ragalo.
It is absurd. The question is, the person who is being arrested and taken to court, what wrong has he done? He's not kept to know that this is substandard. No, he's not. You could just uphold him and ask him, where did you get this from here? Then that's it. Release him. He's done nothing wrong. Why are we poisoning Kenyans? That's where I'm going. The doctor's on strike, and you're poisoning food that will go back to be consumed by humans. The spiraling effect will be hospital. The spiraling effect will be cancer and all the others, because when you affect the DNA of food, you know, all these things are molecular. Molecules. Some of them you affect them by giving non-starter stuffs, chemicals. They will grow to become mature maize, mature beans, but beans that are not of the good level of consumption. But it will come to our table, or even to your table, he who is selling us this, because you will not know that these beans is the beans that was produced in Bungoma, or this is the maize. So you will consume what we are consuming. Then you kill Kenyans by affecting their health. Does Kenya produce fertilizer? Can Kenya itself produce fertilizer? Do we have a company in Kenya we know that this is the company that makes fertilizer? Most of the companies in Kenya are distributors of fertilizer. We have Ruto Devji Meji. For many years, it has been distributing fertilizer, not making fertilizer. The process of making a fertilizer is so expensive that I don't think there's a company in Kenya that makes a fertilizer. When I heard that fertilizer is being produced somewhere in Kenya, I was like, okay, wow. There is a company to produce cement which is going to be opened in West Pokot, and it's all over the papers. Which is a huge thing. Do you know a company that will produce fertilizer can be even bigger story? Because this is a fertilizer, my friend. And this is what is going to be used by Eric to take care of this And I would want to know the leveling of it. But now we can produce a fertilizer. Initially, we were getting fertilizers from wherever, and some of them were doctored before they entered in our country. And remember, after that, we got all sorts of things. We got maize that had aflatoxin and many other things.
Yes.
And you know, aflatoxin is direct cancer to the body. Directly. But people consumed cancer anyway. And we are going to be with it. Aflatoxin leads to liver disease and liver cancer.
Yes.
That's where now you get hepatitis, whatever's. But now we are here, because we make money. We don't realize we are hurting the soil. And the soil is hurt. It will come to hurt us.
Yeah.
So right now we are hurting the soil by giving it whatever we are giving it. The maize will grow. The Bible says there is a maize that grew where there was spikes. It still grew. There's a maize that grew where there were stones. It still grew. But there's a maize that was put in a nice land. It produced better, and people, you eat good food.
Yes.
But we are giving ourselves maize that are looking like what is written in the Bible. One that was in thorns, one that was on stones. We will pay for this. My only issue, don't want to talk about KEBS. I'm looking at a country that will be sickly, a country that will be eating what is not standard, and a country that will come back to use their money to treat themselves as they die.
Yeah.
That is all I can say. So whoever is the president, whoever is in KEBS, whoever is doing this, if it is Mithika, whoever, I don't want to talk about you. Just sit back and ask, is it the right thing to feed a country with things that are not necessary? Because anything you give the soil, it will give back to you. Soil will, inaitangwa Mother Nature will give you what you give it.
But Barbagallo, why can't you talk about this man?
I've already talked about it. I've already said very simple. You are bringing too many patients to hospital. You are bringing patients to us. But you're bringing patients to us with no good cover. NHIF is weak. With no good cover on Eduafia. With no good cover on any other insurances. Yes. You are bringing patients to us. So how you want to bring them, shauri yenu. If you want to give anything else bad in the soil, it will come back to us.
But if you're going to be told now to start finding a solution for majority of Kenyans, because even as we talk about these two-fold sides of government, you have a CS who's saying, well, I don't understand what you guys are saying. You have fake fertilizers getting napped. You have members of parliament in the house who want him to go, get fired because of failure to make sure that there's no fake fertilizer in the market. Why can't you ask the president to also jump in on this, Mr. Mungai? Because we do know very well that indeed he's got the powers to say, hey, on this one, I just want you out, because this is as critical as it can be, just like Ragallo is putting it, as critical as it can be to the survival of the people of Kenya.
You know, all governments, like trade unions,
yes,
their first form of response is deny. Refute, deny.
Yes.
That's the standard operating procedure, not just for the Kenyan government, all governments.
Just hold on. Right there, Mungai. They've not all of them are denying.
No, wait. When the story broke,
yes,
everyone denied. Everyone said no, that it cannot happen here. In fact, they said one of the media stations was biased. They were just peddling propaganda. So when I mean, it's standard operating procedure for governments. One, to deny. Secondly, when there is reluctant acceptance, to whittle down numbers. So that if, say, 20 people are dead, government will say 3 people have lost their lives. Those are the standard operating procedures of any government anywhere in the world. But the question is this.
Yes.
One, since we have moved from a level of denial to plausible deniability. You know, now it's plausible. It could have happened. Maybe it has not happened. We are investigating.
Yes.
We will leave no stone unturned. And when you hear that statement in Kenya, you know all stones will not be, no stone will be turned. We will leave no stone unturned and blah, 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 and such kind of things. But the reality is that I believe in this issue of fertilizer will die a natural death. We have had many breaking stories in this country, and as I've told you, sometimes when I sit down, I have started accepting that we deserve as Kenyans all the evil things that happen to us. I think I have accepted in my heart that one, maybe I am not a good person. Secondly, because I am not a good person, maybe I also do not deserve good things. Because when I am given an opportunity to go to the ballot, and I have people who genuinely I perceive to be good people, but they are broke, and there is a crook here who is known very well as a drug peddler and has resources. I leave the good ones, and I tell them they are broke, and adonaido, in my mother tongue, is so you don't have money. So I go for the thief. Now this thief, I take his money, I vote for him. I vote for him, he has to return his money. So what does he do? He goes to a fertilizer company, colludes with people there, they mix some donkey things and some kariandusi material, allegedly, and they package in lorries and get a scrupulous transporter, and they go and connive with guys in NCPBA, and those guys in NCPBA, who is the appointing authority? Another politician who I myself went and voted for. So I have sat down and said, if I eat sugar with mercury, I deserve it. They need to add me one more spoon, so that if I was taking 2 spoons of sugar, I need to take 3 spoons of sugar.
So the mercury is enough.
So that the mercury is enough to kill me quickly, so that I get sense in my head. Because I've told you in future, even things that are sacrosanct, they are going to be tampered with. And where we are headed as a direction, because we have no moral fabric. Even the doctors now that we train, regardless of whether they go for strike, they are going to reach a point and say, okay, now this thing I am not paid well. Which corners can I cut? Pharmaceuticals are going to realize, this KEBS thing, kumbe even their standards, they don't even enforce their own standards. They are going to cut corners. So I'll take fake medicine, I'll eat bad food, bad quality food, I'll eat food with aflatoxins, I will eat imported mercury, sugar, which I'll put in my tea. In the evening, when I lock doors with my spouse, I am going to use things which are also fake. So I am telling you, I have come to a conclusion that as a Kenyan, I deserve all the bad things that happen to me. Why? Because maybe inherently, I have been raised with bad values and I am not necessarily a good person. I only appear to be good now because I have not had the opportunity.
Yes.
If right now, Simba, you're given a public seat and you retire after 5 years without money, the villagers say you're a very foolish man. They gave you an opportunity to go and eat and you came back as a poor man. So maybe yes, maybe it is true I should stop complaining about fake fertilizer. Maybe I should go and buy it and go and plant with it. After all, it might be cheaper.
Gentlemen, if you can, for the sake of time, I want us to finally look at the last issue this morning. And Sheila, if you can actually take us back to the Daily Nation this morning, where we're talking about that particular story for one president, Uhuru Kenyatta. Ragalo, you and I spoke about this issue, by the way. That apology is talking about Uhuru's political traitors. And guess what? And then we said, maybe that apology for one Rigathi Gachagua was as sincere as it could be. That it wasn't told you got to apologize, no. That he decided that it's time for me to apologize. We said, what could be the political angle in this? Well, I was told that question is irrelevant. Ukikosea mtu una apologize as a truthful man. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. Now, Ragalo, here is Uhuru Kenyatta laughing at his enemy, saying, guys, I told you. Yeah, I told you that I wasn't wrong. These guys were the ones who were wrong. And one after the other, now they are coming back to say, Bwana tusamee tulikuwa mbaya. So, Could you make sense then, Ragalo, of the apology that one Rigathi Gachagua made to Uhuru Kenyatta? Because I don't think, Ragalo, I can apologize to you. Then in the next meeting that you're going to, you turn around and say, Siniliwambia, kale kajamasi kamekuja ku apologize. So can you make sense of that? What does it mean?
I think we've gotten to a period of apologies now.
Yes.
And before I talk about Uhuru Kenyatta's speech in church, I would also look at the apology by Moses Kuria yesterday. He went to visit Baba with goats and some Kikuyu regalias. He just realized Baba was a Kikuyu elder. So yesterday he actually gave him a cap and a spear and a shield as a Kikuyu elder. Well, once I said here that Moses Kuria was taken to school by Raila. He went to India through Raila's intervention, and he went through and finished school because Raila was able to pay his school fee. Actually, he's a Raila's son. So sometime when Moses, it is legal, it is illegally, but he's Raila's son. He who takes you through school. Whatever you eat, because you were taken to school by him, you find that guy is actually your dad. So whatever Moses Kuria says sometime hurts me because I know Raila took him to school. So when he went back to Baba yesterday, he even went with his mother. You can see the depth of it, his mother, because I can't take you to school and your mom is not aware. He went with his mother. And I also want to apologize to Moses Kuria on TV here.
That's a season of apologies.
It's a season of apology that on 25th March 2022,
yes,
he wanted me to become his running mate in Kiambu County Governor.
Yes.
And I had promised him, and he was waiting for my papers. His people were actually calling me every time.
That's it.
To send my papers. It is going to be a deadline tonight.
That's it. Where are your papers?
IBC are waiting for my papers. I did not send because I felt this is not okay. Because the same guy I was going to send and help to run as a governor Kiambu was the same guy who wanted to circumcise my community. He's the same guy who was calling us all sorts of names. And I decided I will not work with this guy and help him in anywhere.
That's it.
So that day, I went to Jubilee and endorsed Gadhogo live on TV, Esther Gadhogo, as a candidate for Ruiru. And he was watching on TV. And he was like, see, I'm waiting for this guy. Now he's on TV. And politics will become hard eye. I had my hard eyes. I used to like, wewe pia kula yako. And that night he had to run around and find that lady to become the deputy running mate.
Who is now a director.
Yeah.
Isn't that a director?
Some parastatus.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm not also suffering.
It's not an issue of suffering.
I'm not also suffering.
It's an issue of missed opportunity.
We could be talking to the director.
Yeah.
That's the series of produce good.
Now he's on strike.
Could have given us the solution to this fertilizer.
I'm suffering, so I want to apologize to him because now he's decided to really apologize. But Moses Kuria has always been apologizing to Baba every election. It is after every election he apologizes because he makes too many sins. So I will take his apology as a pinch of salt because 2027 he'll become the Moses I know. And he will come fighting again and throwing unpalatable words. But to my apology is not personal. I just couldn't run against my community, and you will be there abusing my community, and I'm seated next to you. I think Eric can't stomach that. It's too painful for me.
Is your apology similar to the one that Rigathi Gachagua made to President Uhuru?
I didn't take Moses Kuria's goats, nor did I pick his rabbits, nor did I take goons to his compound. So any apology has retribution.
Yes.
Mine doesn't have because it was my papers that were needed and they didn't take. So,
but you made a deal.
What was the deal?
we're gonna run together.
Yes.
He saw you as a potential candidate who could marshal votes around him.
For him.
Are you declaring on this said you are not a reliable person?
I'm declaring on this
said.
said.
One could be waiting for you.
In Dandora, and I'm going to Kawangware. So what?
And probably Kuria might be very sad that he didn't get that seat because of him.
It's okay. It's okay.
Let him be bitter.
Let him be bitter, because we are equally bitter that we've lost elections because of him. A story for another day.
Does it?
And Uhuru Kenyatta's outburst, to me, I will take it in two proportions. It's time Uhuru Kenyatta stops being too angry with some of these people.
They make him angry?
I don't think so.
That's it. But
you've
given us an entire chronology.
When the deputy came apologizing, just like I said, there were sins that the deputy did, which he agreed. I listened to the clip in Kikuyu as he was speaking. He embraced him back. Be Raila, what has people not done to Baba? Painful ones as they are. Even Uhuru Kenyatta himself, how much did he hurt Raila?
As President Uhuru Kenyatta read it the other way, that this is a man now who needs my voice for
But you see, Uhuru came direct and said, things we used to say about Baba, some of them were lies. He said.
Yeah.
And we apologize for some of the things we did. It was mambo ya siasa. We were also running to win. So we had to smear someone, and we did it on you, and we are sorry.
Yeah.
And he did it at Safari Park during a prayer meeting. Now that one was deep. There was prayers and was open heart, asking for forgiveness in front of God. That ndugu yetu deputy president, it is more social.
Was it?
He should go and pick the elders, the Kikuyu elders, and ask them, go talk for me. And the Kikuyu elders now, they need to do their Kikuyu thing and sit down and eat together. That is where now the community brothers do. You know, we can't do Kikuyu thing because it was Baba. And you see now what happened. The elders of the Luo and the Kikuyus met. That's when these people came together and said, tumemaliza hayo.
Yes.
The elders just said, all that is done. And this must be done the same. But now, the church one was different. Uhuru's speech was, I have these people on my left. These people, when they tell you, tunaenda kwa Mungu, ni ukweli, I'm not just saying, ni ukweli tunaenda kwa Mungu. But people when wana enjoy watu wako mbele yangu. He said actually, they're in front of me.
That's what he said actually.
Who was in front of him? Waiter. Who was else in front of him? The politicians were there. We even had the MCA of that area. He's called Robert Alai. So, and he was saying, he was talking about politics of betrayal. I have the book by Joe Hamisi, Politics of Betrayal. It is damn painful. I've read it up to even 2007 election. What happened? Joe Hamisi just decided to write these things when he left the country. And he wrote the truth of what has been happening.
Yes.
Our country, we are just not honest, even politically. We are not just honest.
Yes.
And the best candidate always will lose.
Yes.
Because the honest country will never vote the honest candidates.
Doesn't.
I'm saying the honest country by quotes because if you want to know the politics of betrayal, I want to show how betrayal works. It was very wrong for Uhuru to greet Raila. But it is very okay for Ruto to vote for Raila and work with Raila to have a EU chairmanship come to Kenya. It's not actually Raila. Raila is just bringing it to Kenya. As Kenya is the one chairing the whole AU in Africa. But now, it is okay that everyone wants Raila to win, plus even those people who made sure Raila does not win by crook and hook like Moses Kuria. So you ask yourself, has Ruto become even good for working with Raila that Uhuru was bad in Mount Kenya for working with Raila? To an extent,
yes,
it became at Nusumukate government where they know very well Raila was not in the government. They know very well Raila did not make policies in that government. He was not even a member of parliament or anything. But they say ilikuwa government ya Raila na Uhuru. To an extent, even the people who formed the government had to run away from it. So that is the betrayal Uhuru is saying. That we did make this government together. But muliniachilia na mukanigonga because sasa mimi ndio nilikuwa nabeba uchafu yote yenye hata nyinyi mulicreate.
Mungai, I want you to weigh in on it as well. I mean, does that make us look at that apology any other way? Because is that Uhuru sort of saying, I've not accepted it. Yeah, you just go right ahead and do what it is you can do.
After 2013 elections,
yes,
His Excellency...
Been told we have 3 minutes back.
Yes, His Excellency, the retired president, promised Ruto yangu 10, yako 10.
Yes.
Yesterday, or the day before yesterday, this is what the Daily Nation reports. To the traitors, I want to tell them that even Judas Iscariot betrayed Jesus, but he later left the pieces of silver and hanged himself. Everything will come to an end. But as the nuncio has reminded us today, the job of a shepherd is not to direct, but to guide and lead and bring everybody along with you.
Yes.
You need to be very careful when you live in a glass house that you do not throw stones.
Ragala, nasikia vile ilianza vizuri eh? You promised 10. Ritza statement says, when you're in a glass house, sirusha mawepo. Talala nje. Here's the thing. It's a topic that's going to continue right here on the morning drip, because I know very well, maybe in one way or another, he's going to get a couple of responses this week. Let the weekend settle. We do not know exactly what's going to happen with the doctor strike, because the president said, well, there's no money. Whether this becomes like the 2017 strike where doctors were in the streets for more than 3 months is still for us to wait and see as well. We shall report everything that we get to you as well online at Lookuptv, across all your social media platforms. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage. Ragalo, Mungai, thank you very much for coming back. Always guys, you make this quite a good show. All right. See you tomorrow for another edition. By the way, remember, if you live in a glass house, do not throw stones. Even, yeah,
matchstick.
Maybe
can spark.
Maybe we'll start with this one next week on the grass house. We'll see whether somebody's a matchstick. And who's living in this grass house, by the way? Is it?
That's why even at home, ukipuliza moto ukiwa kwa ile nyumba, kale ka kitchen, you are careful of the sparks the way they go up.
Because they might go up.
Na ujue ukipuliza hivyo saa ingine wewe inarudi nyuma.
Utameza fake.
So be careful. See you next week, guys.